I'm Nancy Guillen, and this is my cancer story. In 2008, I had a normal yearly mammogram and was told that there was just something suspicious there, that they just thought it was nothing, but they just thought maybe we should check it a little bit further because we've had a lot of family history. And I was actually living in Miami, and we were getting ready to move to Tennessee, so I was trying to get all my doctor's stuff done before we moved here. So quickly went and got a little bit more testing, decided to have a biopsy, once they did the biopsy, they found out that it was actually invasive breast cancer. So called my mom, told her, she was in Tennessee, living in Tennessee already, called my mom, told her that I had gotten this diagnosis, and she said, well, I have my mammogram coming up and a couple other doctor's appointments, and I'll be there as soon as I'm done. And our mammograms always ran at the same time because of family history. She forced us all to get mammograms around the same time. So so she said, my appointment's like in 3 days, and then as soon as I'm done with all that, I'll come and help you. So 3 days later, she called me and she told me that there was a problem because she had just found out that she also had invasive breast cancer. So I immediately got real angry with her. So we have done speaking engagements since that time, and I always tell the story and people look at me like, wow, you're a real nice lady that you got mad at your mom. But what I went on to explain is that it wasn't that I was mad at her, it was that how could I take care of her if I was sick too? Like, this was bad timing. Not her fault at all, just me not being able to take care of her. So we found out that we needed to have genetic testing to see where we were with all of that, and found out that we did both have a gene, a suspicious gene, so that meant full double mastectomies, and on top of that, for me, that meant a full hysterectomy. So this all happened in June, and so in the beginning of July, I had a double mastectomy and a full hysterectomy, and within a few days, I guess, my mom had her double mastectomy, and she was in Tennessee, I was in Florida. So we were, like I said, we had sold our house, we were on our way to move to Tennessee. So I had all that surgery done July the 3rd, and we moved here on August the 12th. And I had the start of reconstruction, which meant that I had to go back to Florida every 2 weeks to get what they call like a pump up, a fill up. It's reconstructive talk, but I'd have to fly down there every 2 weeks to get that taken care of. And so that went on for a while. Turned out that it was a good thing that they went ahead and did the hysterectomy, because my ovaries had a type of cell that would turn into ovarian cancer. So had all of this not happened, I would not have known that till very far along, because ovarian's much harder to detect. So, but because we caught everything early, no chemo, and I decided I was done. They didn't need to do anything else because, you know, they had gutted me. They had taken everything out, so I was fine. No chance of it ever coming back. The doctor informed me that no, that wasn't the case. I needed to take this medication for 5 years, and I reminded her that I didn't. And then she explained to me that our bodies are pretty smart. So even though my cancer was fed by estrogen and I had no more ovaries, your body knows that when all that's gone, it converts your testosterone into estrogen. And so you need to take this medication to block that from happening, so that lessens the chance of recurrence. So fortunately for me, all I had to do was that 5 years of that medication. And I was thrown into menopause because of the hysterectomy, so that all created a bit of havoc in me, but I can't complain at all. I tell people all the time, if you have to have breast cancer, my way is the way to have it. So since then, I've had regular checkups. I'm cancer-free. My mom's has come back, so that was a little bit scary for me, but so far, so good. Nothing back. And don't anticipate it coming back. So, and that's my story.
So I want to ask you a couple of questions though, because your mom shared her story, and there was genetic markers. Okay, and so your daughter
Yes.
faith. And your mother mentioned that she's going to be starting she's a new mom.
Right.
And so she's going to be starting getting her testing done, or has she had the genetic markers?
No, but they suggest that she doesn't do anything until, they suggest she doesn't do mammograms or anything until 13 years past the time that I was diagnosed.
Okay.
At my age. So I was 38, so she should be, something. Later. No, 13 years earlier. I'm sorry. So yeah, so she should be around 25. She should start getting mammograms.
Okay.
We opted not to do the genetic testing for her because she is a worrisome person.
Okay.
So if she does in fact have the gene, she will worry herself to death. And so and she has a daughter, but she wants to have more children. So, both my sisters were tested, as I'm sure my mom mentioned, and one has the gene, one didn't. And they were both encouraged to remove their ovaries because ovarian cancer is a sister cancer to breast cancer. And ovarian cancer is so difficult to detect early. If you're not being screened for other reasons, it's by the time they see it, by the time you have a symptom of it, it's way too far gone. So they encouraged both of them to do that. So like my nieces, they didn't get the genetic testing at first either because of wanting to have children, because that's a decision. What do I do now if I have the gene? Do I not have children? Do I and there's all these years later, even the sister who has the gene, nothing has come up. So you could make a very radical decision,
right,
and it not be necessary.
Sure.
So diligent with breast exams, going to the gynecologist regularly, and then when she's 25-ish, she'll start doing mammograms, and they know our history, so they'll probably give her more of a diagnostic one rather than just a basic one. And so that's where we've opted, because if she had the gene, she'd be a wreck.
Yeah, that's probably the better way to go.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would like to say to women or even men, husbands who might be out there watching this video about your testimony or story? Any encouraging words or anything that comes to mind that you think maybe men should know as their wives go through this?
So I went through a period of time where I felt like, not a woman. And I think most women that have mastectomies feel that way. And maybe for me it was a little bit more because I also lost all of my female organs at the same time. So
you were thrown straight into menopause.
Yeah, kind of like, whew, everything was gone. And but that doesn't define who you are. I mean, whether you have breasts, you don't have breasts, you menstruate or you don't menstruate, that doesn't change who you are. And my husband was real supportive that way, because I opted for reconstruction, and that involved 6 or 7 surgeries by the time that they planned to be finished with nipple reconstruction and the whole thing. And I remember, like, after the 3rd surgery, I was like, how important are the nipples to you? Because I was tired of the surgeries. And he was like, not at all. Like, it doesn't matter. And then, one thing to note is that everything changes when you have breast cancer. Whether you take chemo or you don't take chemo, you're going to take some type of medication, or you're going to have have radiation or something. And so you're going to be left with scars or damaged tissue, or in my case, extreme weight gain. I was healthier than I ever was before I had that stupid mammogram. I was thin, I exercised, I was healthy. Never in my wildest dreams did I think something would come up. And after all of that, everything changed, because I was thrown into menopause, because I had to take medication to keep the breast cancer away, because I then had to take an antidepressant, not because I was depressed, but because the hot flashes were taking over my life. I'm a financial advisor. Can you imagine sitting across the desk and I'm sweating profusely? It's not a good sign,
What is she hiding?
Something's not right with her. So,
oh, goodness.
Yeah, so I went on medication for that. And then, at one point I got pretty depressed about it. And my husband told me, you could either be skinny and dead or heavy and alive, and I'll take the heavy and alive. So you need to take that. So that was, good to hear. Sometimes still I struggle with it, but, it's going to change your life. It just is. But it's not for the bad. You know, when I was first diagnosed, I had a lady tell me at the hospital, oh, you know, this is just a bump in the road. I wanted to punch that lady in the face. I was like, are you kidding me, right? Like, why would you even say that? And she was so right. I mean, looking back, it was just a bump in the road. I mean, it was more like a speed hump. I mean, it was maybe a little mountain, but it was just that, you know. And so when ladies come in, I try to remind them of that. Like, you know, it's a process, and for some women, it's a longer process. Some women, it's a shorter process, but it's a process no matter what. And I would also say for anyone that knows somebody who has it, there is nobody who has breast cancer worse.
It's you either have it or you don't.
You know, mine was a really great way to have to go through breast cancer. And some people have to go through horrific treatment, and it's very long and extensive. But neither one of those are any more valid. You know, when you hear the fact that you have cancer and that you have breast cancer, it is life-changing, and it's the same for both people. So never think, oh, well, you didn't have to have chemo, so you're fine. You didn't have to have this, so you're fine. I mean, I'm grateful, believe me, very grateful for it. But I know that some women feel like, you know, they feel badly because, like, I shouldn't even feel bad because I see this lady in the oncologist office and she's having to go through so much more. No, it's all relative. You know, we all are dealing with the same things, and it never goes away. You know, that whole thing that I'm a survivor, in reality, I'm surviving.
You're surviving, yes.
Because no matter if something new happens, you know, I developed a knot on my leg, panic right away because has it come back and spread? You just don't know. So you're forever dealing with those things. But it shouldn't, and it doesn't consume me, and it shouldn't consume anybody. But those are things to keep in mind when you're dealing with somebody who's been through that sort of thing, that, like, it's always there in their mind, and there's always the possibility. I mean, when my mom's breast cancer came back, we were all taken off guard, like, really, like, what? And so, you know, there's always that looming thing. And so be kind to people, you know. You don't know what they're going through. And everybody deals with things differently. Some people deal with it by laughing. Some people deal with it by crying. Some people deal with it, you know, by shutting down. You know, just, you know, love on people where they are and how they are. And that's it.
I think that, you know, you really touched on some things, and as did your mom too, because when she shared, she was emotional, and you can tell that it just went to her heart, and everything that she does here and that you all do here for women with cancer, and not just breast cancer, but any kind of cancer, is so important, because it's not just a physical thing. It is an emotional and mental thing. Yeah. And coming to terms with those types of things, with something like that, I've never experienced cancer. I'll say something after we get off camera. So it's like, I've never experienced it. I've had friends who have. She came into my life after she had cancer, but I know other friends who have and have had it to reoccur and that sort of thing. So it's different for every single person.
It is.
But it's still, like you said, there is no bad or worse. It's, you've got cancer, you've got cancer.
Right.
And so I think that's hugely important. Is there anything that you know about as far as mental health for women that are going through cancer that they can go to?
I know that American Cancer Society offers a lot of programs. They don't offer as many as they used to, but they do offer a lot. And then there are support groups all over the place. I mean, there are a myriad of support groups. A lot of them have slowed down after COVID, but you'd be surprised. There's a lot. But be leery, because don't get online and start looking at everybody's everything, because I once had a doctor tell me, you're going to Google yourself to death. Yes. Get off of Google. The people that are posting their misery and all the bad things that have happened to them, they're just miserable people. And yes, they may have had bad things happen to them, but instead of focusing on what the doctors did wrong and, you know, how this went wrong and how that went wrong, the people who are doing well are outliving their lives. They're not posting there. Right. So you do want to be careful about getting on certain, like when my daughter got pregnant, she was on some group on Facebook, and I was like, you need to get off of that, because everything was people talking about bad things that had happened.
Yeah,
And
that's not
so
good.
I can't say that I've ever joined a breast cancer group online. I'm sure there are a million of them, but just be cautious, because if there is that kind of talk, like, get out. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need that.
You don't need that. You need the
Mm-mm.
positive
You need positive.
reinforcements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked recently about reopening we had and it was called Amazing Women,
That's nice.
Yeah.
and we did it wasn't a group to come in and tell, oh, poor me, or anything like that. We did talk. I mean, there were certain conversations that didn't relate to me, but I can remember one lady particularly. Nancy was able to counsel her through it because she was young and she was concerned about her sex life with her husband. And Nancy had just gotten married.
Yeah.
She'd only been married 6 months.
Yeah, I was married just a short time before, maybe a year before that. Yeah. So I was concerned when all that happened.
Absolutely. Because it's life changing.
Mm-hmm.
It is life changing.
We have what's hard. I think the hardest part here is, and of course we've lost some beautiful women, and I've watched what amazing husbands carry them in here, and but we've also had husbands that you want to take a baseball bat.
Oh, just go sit in the car.
Just smack them, and there was one in particular, and in my heart, I'm afraid she's hurt herself because he was just nasty, and he said, if it ever comes back, I'm gone.
Oh my goodness.
And I want so bad to say to her, tell him there's a door, go now. But she came back and brought me that little box of hearts, hugs, and I've never heard from her since. Yeah. So those are the hard ones, when they say, my husband's never gonna look at me again. And I have ladies who have never looked at themselves.
You know what? I think this might be another conversation, because I think that's huge to touch on. And we might have another conversation if you guys are open to that. Because that I cannot imagine, but we do know that not just in the sake of cancer, but in other areas of things that happen that women's bodies go through, that it changes things. So that might be another conversation for us to have.
Yeah, I've got a lady now that she had the bad cancer. I mean, which to me that means she just had to go through some really tough chemo. Okay. But she went back to work. She works in the cafeteria at school, and she went back to work the other day, and her little cat, and she was concerned about what the kids were going to say to her. I said, the kids will be fine. It's not the first time they've seen it, I'm sure, But she came in the next day and she said, I don't know if I can do it.
Oh.
She said, I don't know if I can do it. And I said, then don't. If you're not ready, she said, I'm tired, my feet hurt. I said, your husband told you were going back too early. I said, take care of you, and then you can go back. So some of the stories we hear are just like, one thing Nancy said too about the kids having, her sister they all had hysterectomies, that the ovarian and cervical is a sister to breast cancer. So is colon. That's why they took mine so quickly, and they watched me so carefully. Because it's a sister to the breast cancer.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're gonna stop here for now, and we'll do another thing.